Today I'm going to give you a brief history about Saskatchewan. First, we would like to acknowledge that Saskatchewan, as we know it today, is located on the territories of Treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10. These were signed between 1871 and 1906. On the screen, you will see a list of First Nations of Saskatchewan. Arrowheads and ashes are left as evidence of the First Nations' occupation of the land, along with other tools and traditional oral stories passed down through generations. For more on this, please refer to the Government of Canada and Saskatchewan sites, as well as the Canadian Encyclopedia, or communicate with more local elders. Fun fact, Saskatchewan is derived from the Cree word Kisakashawanasipi, which means swiftly flowing river. And I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. Henry Kelsey worked for the Hudson's Bay Company. He was the one that helped set up York Factory. His goal then was to encourage Indigenous peoples to trade furs at York Factory. In order to do this, from 1690 to 1692, he journeyed into the western interior along the Saskatchewan River and also by foot. This made him the first European to see the prairies. In 1670, Charles II signed a royal charter that created the Governor and Company of Adventurers of England trading into Hudson's Bay, or as we know it better, the Hudson's Bay Company. This gave the Hudson's Bay Company and its merchant governors exclusive rights to trade and to colonize all the lands containing rivers flowing into Hudson's Bay. As we can see, this takes up quite a bit of territory that we know now as present-day Canada. The transfer from the Hudson's Bay Company to the Canadian government is quite the story. So I'm going to use characters to help me illustrate this story. Now that does not mean that the characters I put on the screen accurately represent each entity, but it is just for illustration purposes. So our first entity is the Hudson's Bay Company, and we're going to use this character here to represent them. The next one is Canada, and because Canada was a young country, just becoming a country in 1867, and this taking place in 1869 to 1870, we're going to use a young character here to represent them. Now, the U.S. had just paid $7.2 million for Alaska, and the Hudson's Bay Company had saw this. And they said, for Rupert's Land and the Northwestern Territory, they figured $40 million. Now, Canada was like, we just became a country. We took on all these provinces' debts. We're trying to build a transcontinental railway. We don't got a lot of money. In fact, we're broke. So they said, we can't afford that. So insert Britain. Now, Britain is considered like the motherland or the mother country. So we're going to use a mother figure here to represent them. And they said, the USA needs to stay away. And that was the most important thing for them. They did not want the US to come and claim any of the land that we know now as present-day Canada. So they said, we'll help. We'll step in. We'll help these negotiations go on. After 6 months of negotiations, they finally came to an agreement. The Hudson's Bay Company got $1.5 million. Nowhere near the amount that they were asking for. Britain then said they'd give the land over to Canada November 19th, 1869. So great, Canada got the land. Well, because of the Red River Rebellion that caused so much political disruption, the transfer could not come into effect until July 15th, 1870. When this transfer finally did go through in 1870, the Northwestern Territory and Rupert's Land were combined to make the Northwest Territories. In 1882, the federal government created 4 provincial districts to help with administrative and postal purposes, and these 4 districts were called Assiniboia, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Athabasca. Where you see this red star is approximately where Whitewood is located. So that's why if you come to the museum and you see artifacts that say Whitewood, Northwest Territories, or Whitewood, Assiniboia, this would be the reason why. In 1905, the province of Saskatchewan joined Canada. Alberta joined at the same time as Saskatchewan, making them the 8th and 9th provinces of Canada. The flag as we know it today was adopted in 1969. The green upper half represents the forested area in the northern part of the province, and the gold lower half represents the southern grain areas. It includes the shield of arms and the provincial flower. And here is the flag that we have still today. So now we're going to play a little game to see how well you know the emblems of nature. Okay, so what is Saskatchewan's flower? Do you need a little hint? If you guessed the western red lily, you'd be correct. Okay, what about Saskatchewan's bird? This is a hard one. I'll give you a little hint. Saskatchewan's bird is the sharp-tailed grouse. Okay, what about Saskatchewan's tree? Do you need a hint? It is the white birch. Okay, what about Saskatchewan's mineral? Here's the little hint. It is sylvite, or as we know it, potash. Okay, I didn't know Saskatchewan had a grass. Do you? And do you know what it is? Here's your hint. It is needle and thread grass. Learn something new every day. Okay, this should be an easy one. What is Saskatchewan's fruit? Still don't know what it is? Hopefully you know what it is now. It's the Saskatoon berry. And what about Saskatchewan's fish? Here's your hint. It is the walleye. Okay, but the fun's not done yet. One more. Do you know what the province of Saskatchewan's sport is? If you guessed curling, you would be correct. And did you know that we have a tartan? This is what our tartan looks like. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and found it informational. If you would like to know more, please refer to the Canadian Encyclopedia or the Government of Saskatchewan. As always, thank you for joining us today in learning about a brief history of Saskatchewan, and be sure to stop in at the Whitewood Historical Museum.